The story of Britney Spears begins under the bright, hot sun of Kentwood, Louisiana, a small town where life moved to a slow, familiar rhythm of porch swings and sweet tea. From the moment she could walk, Britney was dancing, not just moving, but performing. Her tiny body filled with a preternatural energy, a spark that ordinary life could not contain. She sang in the local church choir, her voice clear and strong, surprising for such a small frame. Her mother, Lynn, saw that spark. She filled out the applications, drove the long hours, fueled by a dream that was both her daughter's and, perhaps, her own childhood. Then was not a time of careless play, but of focused pursuit, auditions, talent shows, long drives to New York. At just 10 years old, she stood before judges for the new Mickey Mouse Club. She was cast, but deemed too young. The rejection stung, but the dream was merely deferred. She returned home, but not to give up. She spent a year at a prestigious performing arts school in New York, a little girl from Louisiana navigating the big, intimidating city, her accent a reminder of the world she left behind. But perseverance paid off. At 11, she finally joined the Mickey Mouse Club. There, in that crucible of child talent, she was surrounded by others who would also shape pop culture. Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, they were all just kids, but the chemistry was electric. For Britney, it was a finishing school for the superstar she was destined to become. When the show ended, she returned to Kentwood, a paradox. A global novice with a professional's resume. The quiet of her hometown now felt like a vacuum. The world was calling, and she was ready to answer. What happened next was not just a debut, it was a cultural detonation. In 1998, a music video premiered. It opened in a school cafeteria with a young girl, all innocence, in a Catholic school uniform. Then, the beat dropped. She began to dance, a confident, provocative swirl, her hair in high pigtails, a smile both sweet and knowing. The song was "Baby One More Time." Overnight, Britney Spears became the most famous teenager on the planet. The image was a powder keg of contradictions, innocent yet sexualized, youthful yet powerfully in control. She sold millions. She was everywhere. She was America's sweetheart, packaged and sold as the fantasy girl next door who just happened to be a pop prodigy. The fame was a gilded hurricane. She followed the smash with Oops, I Did It Again, solidifying her as the princess of pop. The stages grew larger, the tours were sellouts, the magazine covers were endless, but the machine around her was relentless. Interviews were tightly controlled, her image meticulously manicured. She was expected to be perpetually bubbly, perpetually charming, a product as much as a person. The pressure within that shiny package began to build, a silent scream behind the megawatt smile. A public yearning for autonomy began to show. Her relationship with Justin Timberlake, played out in the blinding flash of paparazzi, became a global soap opera. Their breakup, and the subsequent narrative that painted her as the villain, was a brutal public reckoning. She responded not with words, but with artistry. Her 2001 album Britney and the video for I'm a Slave for You showed a woman fiercely trying to shed the teen idol skin. Drenched in sweat, commanding a python, she was declaring her adulthood, but the public and the media struggled to accept her evolution. They wanted the girl in the pigtails, not the woman in control. Then the cracks in the facade became chasms. The whirlwind 55-hour marriage in Las Vegas. The later marriage to Kevin Federline, a backup dancer, a union that seemed to many like a cry for normalcy. The birth of her two sons, Sean Preston and Jaden James, was a profound joy. Motherhood was a role she craved, a real, tangible love amidst the surreal chaos of her life. But the relentless, predatory pursuit by the paparazzi reached a fever pitch. Cameras were shoved in her face daily, hourly. They documented her every stumble, every tear, every moment of frustration. The world watched, not with concern, but with voracious consumption. The pressure cooker finally exploded on one fateful day in 2007. In a salon in Tarzana, overwhelmed, trapped, and broken by the constant siege, she picked up an umbrella and struck a paparazzo's car. The images were shocking, not for their violence, but for their raw, unfiltered pain. This was not a pop star acting out. This was a human being shattering under an unbearable weight. Days later, she was placed under a court-ordered conservatorship, control of her life, her finances, her very body, handed over to her father. What followed was a dark, surreal chapter. The conservatorship was presented as protection, a necessary measure for her stability, and for a time it seemed to work. She returned to work. She released albums, performed a massively successful Las Vegas residency, Piece of Me. She appeared judged on television shows, but to her fans, and increasingly to the world, something was deeply wrong. Her eyes, once so vibrant, often seemed vacant. Her social media posts were cryptic, tinged with a haunting sadness. The woman who had commanded stadiums now seemed like a ghost in her own life, performing a pantomime of Britney Spears. The silent scream finally found its voice in the summer of 2021, addressing the judge directly in a Los Angeles courtroom, her voice trembling with years of suppressed anguish. She spoke. She detailed the oppression, the lack of autonomy, the forced labor, the inability to make basic choices about her own life. It was a searing, historic testimony. "I'm traumatized," she said, a simple phrase that echoed around the globe. The world, which had once consumed her breakdown, now bore witness to her plea. The public perception shifted from scrutiny to solidarity. The #FreeBritney movement, once dismissed as a conspiracy theory, was vindicated. In November 2021, the conservatorship was finally terminated. Britney Spears was legally free. But freedom after a 13-year captivity is a complex landscape. Her life since has been a raw, unfiltered, and often chaotic journey of rediscovery. She expresses herself with a startling honesty on social media, dancing with wild abandon in her living room, sharing her pain, her anger, her joy. It is messy, it is confusing, and it is profoundly human. She is learning, in real time and in public, what it means to be Britney. Not a brand, not a ward of the court, but a person. Her legacy, therefore, is a double-edged sword. She is one of the most successful recording artists in history. A defining architect of 21st century pop, a performer of unparalleled energy. Her influence is woven into the DNA of countless artists who followed, but her greater, more tragic legacy is as a cautionary tale. She is the ultimate symbol of the price of fame in the tabloid and digital age. A young woman commodified, exploited, and then systematically controlled. Her story holds a mirror to our own complicity, our appetite for the spectacle of a young woman's unraveling. Today, the music remains toxic, still sounds like the future. Baby One More Time still sparks a jolt of nostalgia. But the story of Britney Spears is no longer just about the songs. It is a story of spectacular talent, unbearable pressure, very public breaking, and a fragile ongoing reclamation. It is the story of a girl who gave the world everything and who is now, finally, fighting to get herself back. Her biography is unfinished, a testament to survival and a haunting reminder that sometimes the brightest stars burn in the most dangerous skies.